we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Karen Steelmon and Kathleen Vermillion with Veterans in Politics. I'm around two gorgeous women today.
Calm down. We won't be here all day. Uh-oh. It's already starting.
Anyways, let me just name the guests that we're going to have before we go into anything else. We're going to have Frank Sullivan, 8th Judicial District Court Judge, Family Division. Robert A. Kelly, candidate for Clark County District Court Judge, Department 4. And Michael D. Davidson, candidate for Clark County District Court Judge, Department 14. We're going to be surrounded by a lot of judicials today.
Yes, we are. It's going to be an exciting afternoon.
Yes, it is. And I just want to let everybody know that we're going to be conducting our Veterans of Politics endorsement interviews at the Leatherneck Club for Departments 4 and 14 on Saturday, July 14th from the hours of 4 to 6 p.m. So if anybody's interested in who these candidates are, make sure you come out and watch your interview process.
And you'll have an opportunity to speak to them yourself and ask them questions as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good.
Huh.
Great opportunity for people. They should get off their butts and go out and do it. Yeah, that's my rant. So that starts the rants. Let's go.
All right. Well, you seen the sheriff is asking for more funding?
I did.
The nerve of him.
I watch him on those commercials, beautiful commercials that he's made for the police department to get your head out of your phone.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why are they asking for more money? That wasn't his campaign to begin with, so why is he jumping on board with the get your head out of your phone thing? And if they had not done those commercials, he might not have to have more money. Yeah,
maybe he's trying to promote himself to get reelected. Yeah,
you think the more he shows his face on TV, the dumbed down people of Clark County will, just recognize him and vote on name recognition. So. You think so?
Yeah,
but
check this out. He's going in front of the city of Las Vegas, which pays 40% of his budget.
Right.
And the Clark County pays 60% of his budget.
Right.
But I get feedback that he has lavish meals. He got nice lunches for him and his inner circle.
Yeah, we never get invited.
Yeah, we I don't think we're in the inner circle. Kathleen, are you in the inner circle?
I am definitely not in his inner circle.
Well, and then he has all these failed contracts, failed police equipment. Cops are telling me that they got to pay for their own armor vests. And they got to pay for their uniform.
I know that Veterans in Politics sent out a press release several months ago officially asking for the resignation of Sheriff Gillespie. I know Las Vegas Tea Party did the same. Not in a press release, but
Kathleen,
privately.
Did you send one out too?
No. Actually, I have nothing negative to say about the sheriff. As a matter of fact, I'm going to stick up for him for a minute because I wonder if that advertising budget actually came from some type of grant or some other funding stream. As you know, some of those line items are restricted and unrestricted. So if he was in fact using that money from his unrestricted pot, I agree with you. But I'm going to come back and say I'm guessing that he didn't. He probably got some type of federal or state grant to do it.
Yeah, people are saying that where's all these grant money? How much is in this grant money and all these personal donations that the police department get? How come he doesn't put that into
the budget?
Into his budget?
It's not revealed in the budget.
I guess the biggest question I would have, and I don't know enough about it, but how many of those folks got raises last year? Because when you have a budget shortfall, what is it, $65 million or more at this point? And you see the water district doing the same thing. The health district did the same exact thing last year when I sat on the Board of Health. They're saying we don't have enough money. We need to raise fees. We need to raise taxes. We need to squeeze ourselves. But yet they're turning around and giving their employees pay raises. Right, well, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Look at Nevada Energy. They're asking for more money, and then the president of Nevada Energy makes over $1 million a year. Makes more than doggone president of the United States.
Oh, 3 of the people that's sitting on the board of NV Energy make over $5 million a year.
Look at that.
Yeah. So anyway, back to the Gillespie thing.
Well, let's talk about the elaborate retirement pays officers get.
That's kind of a two-sided street as well, though, because in all fairness, they do have separate retirement plans, and
they do pay into the system.
What about the Taj Mahal that he has over there? Martin Luther King
I have a problem with that. I have a serious problem with that. But I was.
Isn't rent about $1 million?
I don't have the statistics with me today. I wish you had told me we were going to do this. No, it's like. It's an unbelievable amount. It's like $12 million a year for 30 years.
And my favorite one is this thing that they call paid administrative leave.
Yeah, for
That's
officers
my
that are
favorite.
under investigation.
Yes.
I would love to have a vacation like that.
Well, if anything, they should put a cap on the time frame. You can't put somebody on paid administrative leave for 10,
Indefinitely.
12, 14, 16 months. I mean,
I
you would
agree.
think Metro Fiscal Affairs.
You know what? If
would
I was a
implement-
cop, if I'll go out and shoot me somebody,
Because let me tell
and
you
I'll
something.
get paid to stay home.
These guys in internal affairs that are working on these investigations might be buddies with that guy, Rick.
Absolutely.
And absolutely decide that they're going to take 10 or 12 or 14 months and direct. There should be a cap. Maybe it's 3 months, maybe it's 4, maybe it's 6. I'm
I think
not sure.
6 weeks is plenty.
But this
Plenty.
unlimited paid administrative leave, I agree with you,
And
Steve.
I don't think it should be full pay either. I
that's
mean, if the
something
guy's
they can
sitting at home, he
definitely-
doesn't need full pay.
What about all the money they give into the Police Protection Association?
Oh, can you say conflict
Well,
of interest?
no, actually, I got to jump in here on this one too, Steve. I
Ooh,
think
she's been
those-
jumping in a lot.
I know.
I'm pretty
She's
sure-
put a badge on.
Quiet, and all of a sudden she's jumping all in.
I'm pretty sure that
I think she's a spy for
those are
Gillespie.
membership
Yes.
dues that come directly out of their paychecks. Yeah, so I don't think that's part of the Metro Fiscal Affairs budget. I could be wrong, but I'm going to guess that those are membership dues.
Here's my favorite part. What about the person that's chairman for the Fiscal Affairs Committee?
Okay, I'm turning off my microphone and leaving now. I didn't know you were going to barbecue me, Steve, if I came in and co-hosted with you.
No, this is about the police department, not
Yeah,
you.
it is about the police department.
And if anybody would know, you could give us the real information, right?
That's right.
Hear no evil, see no evil, speak no evil.
Do you have
But
anything
yeah,
else,
I
Karen?
agree with you. No, no, I think that pretty much covers it. I just want to say one more time, officially and publicly, that Sheriff Gillespie should resign as sheriff of Clark County. He's completely failed his job on all levels.
Kathleen, anything else?
I don't know that he should resign. If the voters are that unhappy with him, they won't reelect him. But while he's there, he needs to do the best that he can. And given the circumstances, who are we to judge? I mean, who knows what the poor man has to deal with every day?
Really? Who are we to judge?
I wouldn't want to run for re-election if I were him. I mean, if he's really, if it's really that demanding and he's got this budget crisis, maybe it wouldn't be a bad time for him to retire. But if he's in it and he's got his heart in it, good for him. He should run for re-election. It will be up to the voters to decide who the next sheriff should be.
Okay. Well, speaking of judge, let's take a commercial break and bring a judge on board.
Woohoo!
This is Steve Sanson, Kathleen Vermillion, and Karen Steelmon with Veterans in Politics. Don't go away, folks. We're going to return with Judge Frank Sullivan, the 8th Judicial District Court. Hello, my name is Steve Sanson. I'm the president of Veterans in Politics International. This country and state are in trouble with budget cuts, unemployment, foreclosures, teacher shortage, dropout rates, terrorism, and a loss of military service members. The outcome of this election will profoundly affect families, both military and non-military. Military men and women are dying for other countries to have the right to vote. As a former member of the United States Marine Corps and the Army, I know how important it is to keep the voters informed. Log on to the website veteransinpolitics.com. All Americans of voting age need to not only vote, but research your choices. The Veterans in Politics organization has taken a proactive approach to supporting candidates who will have the courage to protect all of our freedoms and our Constitution. Visit our website at veteransinpolitics.com. Don't just talk about who you support. Research your choices and vote.
Hey, listen up. If you're a military veteran, if you're related to a veteran, or if you know a veteran, you'll enjoy the Veterans Reporter radio show every Thursday from 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. with me. I'm your host, Chuck N. Baker. Every week, we will explore veterans issues and we'll have guests who will talk about topics of interest to and about the veterans community. And if you don't listen, you'll have to give me 20 push-ups.
Hello, Las Vegas. I'm Karen Steelmon, president of Las Vegas Tea Party, bringing your voice to the air Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Are you tired of politics as usual? Do you want to be more involved? Do you want to put a stop to out-of-control government policies? On We the People, we will discuss the political topics of the day and find real solutions. No parties, no labels, just Americans. Be here Wednesdays at 7 p.m. with We the People on KLAV 1230 a.m., where your voice is heard.
Anymore. Not slow, give me 20.
Well, we're back. This is Steve Sanson, Karen Steelmon, and Kathleen Vermillion with Veterans in Politics. We have live Judge Frank Sullivan. Judge, how you doing today?
Real good. Thank you very much for having me here.
Judge, can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I've been on the District Court bench and family since I think I was elected in 2008 to start for January 1st, 2009. And prior to that, I was a hearing master for many years, presiding over juvenile cases involving abuse and neglect of children and juvenile justice delinquent cases. And prior to that, I was a deputy attorney general representing the Department of Family Services and abuse and neglected children.
You know, there's a case that just made headlines. The two juveniles that drowned that those kittens. What do you have to say about that?
Yeah, that'd be on the juvenile justice side. But when you get kids like that enjoy hurting anything or watching inflicting pain, you get really worried that there's deep issues there, and try to focus with that, because for a youth to sit there and deliberately inflict pain to where they're almost enjoying killing anything, let alone an animal kitten like that, you get very concerned of the psychological disturbances, especially with the age. I think the one is 16, so I'm concerned that some psychological issues that the child is deeply displayed. That's not just kids being kids. This
Jeffrey
is Dahmer.
Dahmer?
Yeah, I mean, you do get care. We never say that a kid could be, on a path of sociopath, but you get concerns about deep psychological when they want to inflict pain or kill anything.
Well, they say that's the number one indicator of serial killers is that they harmed and abused animals as youth.
Yeah, that's why
it's a huge red flag.
That was in fact when Jeffrey Dahmer was talking about what started him on his road, he talked about the killing the animals first.
And we see it's been my experience, even though I'm not an expert by any means, we see that. We get real concerned. It starts with just inflicting pain or killing animals, and can escalate if they don't get some services in place.
And they also said that the father was giving alcohol to his son and his son's friends.
Yeah, that was on the other side of the house, but I did hear that from the news, everything on that the father allegedly was almost condoning the behavior or kind of justifying it, like in alcohol and stuff like that. So I guess it could end up in my side of the house if they felt there was neglect or parental neglect or abuse of the children. But right now it's just a juvenile justice issue.
Go ahead.
I have a quick question for you. Since we consolidated, or when we eliminated the bifurcation of the state and county, working on our family and youth services, and we've known each other and worked together for many years in the community, do you see on your end that it's actually getting easier and better to place those kids, and are they staying in their placements longer, or do you believe that the old system was more efficient and more youth friendly for the victims that we're serving?
I think the unified system is the way you need to go. We have many problems on that with the number of youth that are in the system, and we're really trying to change it. But I think with the unified system, you get better because you got accountability from beginning to end. In the old bifurcated, the county did the investigations, and then when the state court went to the state, here at least you have one entity that is responsible from beginning to end. But we have many problems. We are trying to change the whole child welfare system to become much more child-focused and family-driven and family-supportive to see if we can keep children at home safely and wrap around community-based services. But we just really have a lack of community-based services to address the needs of the families.
It doesn't seem like we're seeing the child and infant deaths in the system that we saw a few years ago, and so something's changed for the more positive, and I know that it's more efficient for us to unify those services as well. What's your take on that? I mean, why is it that we changed department heads over there and some elected officials as well, and we've seen a drastic reduction in the number of child deaths and of kids in care?
Well, we have specialized children under 4, which is the highest rate of mortalities, because they're not in school. There's no one kind of watching. You don't know what's going on. So they have specialized the units to children 5 and under, to specialized units, and I have those being heard by 2 of my hearing masters to be specialized in that area to look for those flags, and also have much more supervision. Those are our priority 1 investigation because of their young age and their vulnerability. So I think there's been more focus on that because of the report that came out with the tremendously high number. The other side of that, we do have to make sure that we're just not breaking up families just because better safe than sorry. We really want to make sure we assess those much better. So I think you have much more emphasis at that front-end investigation, much more judicial oversight for our most vulnerable population. And now we're trying to take that to the next step to see can we be a little bit more as a system to recognize families. The majority of our cases are neglect. 75% of our cases are neglect. And 75% of those neglect cases are drug-related. So we're really trying to focus on the drug problem, and can we assist these families to get their services they need to help the family, because our position is healthy families give you stronger communities, and try to minimize the amount of children that languish in the child welfare system and through foster care.
Do you have anything to do with foster care, Judge?
Yeah, I will review the cases. Our cases are broken up into geographic areas, but I will have cases where I review children in foster care. I do TPRs, termination parental rights, adoptions, but I review the north section, which is one of our highest populations.
All right, let me ask you two questions. What do you look for in a foster care provider, and what do you look for when you terminate a parental rights?
Termination parental rights is a two-pronged. You look for parental fault, abuse, serious abuse and neglect, failure of parental adjustment.
When you say serious abuse and neglect, exactly what are you talking about?
Chronic physical abuse, sexual abuse, chronic neglect to the point that it gets to the level that the child cannot be maintained in at home safely. And then the second prong is that it's in the best interest of that child to terminate. There's an adoptive resource there or a family that's there to care for the child, so you have a permanency. So the TPR, so we looked at a parental fault, and then it looked at the best interest of the child.
What about the foster parent? What do you look for in a foster parent?
Foster parents are licensed. They go through a 12-week class through the Department of Family Services. So they look for somebody that's committed to children, that has the time to properly supervise the children and are committed. And they get a whole licensing, which is, I don't review the licensing, but I would see foster parents as far as placements. And we try to make a fit with that foster parent, with the family or with the siblings, to try to keep siblings together and see if that foster parent, is better with older children, younger children, to really try to get that nice fit. Because what happens now, we are very short foster homes. I think we have 656 foster homes, and we've got at any time 12 to 1,400 children in regular foster care placements. So we're really short on foster. So we're asking for foster parents to come out if you want to be a foster parent or adoptive parent, or a CASA, court-appointed special advocate, to be a voice for children. So we are really short of foster homes.
Let me give you a hypothetical. Let's say a cop goes into a home and found out there's abuse on children, and arrest the parents and place the children in CPS. How soon could do they contact a next of kin, like a grandmother or aunt or anything like that? And how soon does that process take? Because there's rumor that once a child is in Child Protective Services, it's harder for the family member to pull them out. Is that true? Yeah,
what we do is if a child is removed, if the police are called out, CPS responds as well. The police will call CPS, Child Protective Services. We have a child, we're taking the parents to jail. We need a placement. We need you to come take the child. Then CPS policy is to find any kin they have, family members, either side of the parent, to get that information. They will come in front of me or one of the hearing masters within 72 hours of removal for what they call a protective custody review. And that time, normally it's the next day, we will come and we will ask, do you got parents? The parents will be transported from jail, and we will ask them, you got relatives? Who do you got? Who do they know? We will ask the children, if they're age, you got an aunt? You got somebody? Right now we have in foster care about 3,400 children. 900 are with the parents, about 1,400 are with family, are with relatives, either licensed, being paid or not, and about 1,200 with strangers in foster care.
Well, where would you tell parents that are having trouble with their significant other or with parenting? Where would you tell them to go? Would you tell them to go to the West Care, or where would you tell them to go?
We have neighborhood resource centers, and that's north, south, east, and west. Hope Counseling does the south. Olive Crest does the north. They are neighborhood resource centers that is to help the community hook up with services, whether it's domestic violence, substance abuse. They are the conduit to hook them up to services. Most of the public do not know about those resource centers. So as a judge, I'm trying to incorporate the resource centers at the front end of all our cases when a family comes in, to coordinate services with the families, to give them a community-based service.
How are you different than Judge Voy?
Judge Voy does the juvenile justice side. I do the dependency side. We do cross over with mental health because we have youth 50 to 75 youth that are crossover. That means in the juvenile justice system and the mental health system. We're similar in a way that we're very worried about the mental health concerns of our youth, in the sense of over-medication of youth and putting them in locked mental health facilities. I think in a different area, he's more focused on the behavior, the conduct of the youth, to change their behavior so they don't become in the adult system. I'm more focused on family services or the needs of the youth to achieve permanency, to get the child either home or another permanent home in a timely manner.
So you don't deal with teenage prostitution or anything like that?
We are starting to cross over. What we're doing on that is, what we're trying to do is kids in my system, in the child welfare system, try to identify proactively. For example, I'm working with Esther Brown, who's for the exploited children, sexually exploited youth, through Judge Voy, to coordinate that, to kind of look to start talking to our children that are 14, females, to maybe history running away or drugs, to start to try to screen them at the front end to prevent them from being the prime suspects for juvenile prostitution. So we're already starting to cross over in that area. But if they're in the juvenile justice system, I won't be involved unless they're also in the child welfare system, which many times they have been sexually abused at home. And then we coordinate the efforts. And if I've got more experience with the family, I would take the case. And if Judge Voigt had more experience with the family, then he takes the case. So we get one judge for those children that are in both systems.
Well, how do you feel about that law that was proposed in the last legislation? I believe Assemblyman John Hambrick is the one that proposed the bill as far as teenage prostitution is concerned. How do you feel about that bill?
I think it's good. They got to see where the resources are going to come. We've been trying to find. I know Judge Voigt's been a leader of trying to get a specialized home, for that youth, because they got to be secure. Yet they should not be treated as criminals. They have done nothing. They are victims. These youth on that. So I think to develop that and really try to expand that to try to react better, to identify it before they become exploited on that, but then reacting. So I think it's a good bill. I haven't looked at all the finances, type of resources it would cost, because my concern is many times they pass bills that are great, but they're unfunded.
Right.
So where you get the funding, do and have a plan of how we're going to fund it and do that.
Kind of like the Veterans Court.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I don't even want to jump into that.
Either do I.
Anything?
Absolutely. Do you have any kind of a program in place that assesses the effectiveness that your approach has to dealing with these youth?
What we're doing is we're having the National Council of Juvenile Family Court Judges, at least from the dependency side, the child abuse and neglect, to come and give us some baselines so we can measure if our practices are working, so we get the evidence-based practices and to get some numbers. To be honest, our system's not real good at getting a baseline so you can measure to see if your efforts are being helpful or not, or beneficial, but we are trying to get that baseline established now so we start measuring effectiveness so we can make informed decisions based on results. And we're just starting that, to be quite honest with you.
What kind of a program do you have to get feedback from the children and the parents whose lives you're affecting?
We are
position on how effective your approach is.
We have several mentoring. We have what I'm in charge of the model court, which is to implement best practices. Part of that is what we have is a children's community improvement council, where we have people from the agencies, people from the community, parents, talk about the system, what's good, what's bad. We're developing a parent mentoring. I'm in the process of doing that. We have parents who've gone through the system, to help other parents through the system and give us feedback of what works or doesn't. So we have several citizens committees to try to get that input. The difficulty is many of the families that were in the system don't necessarily want to come forward, even if it's a good experience, because they don't want anybody to know their business. We just celebrated National Reunification Month, and Monday we had a dinner, and 4 of the families that were reunified were there and came up, but it's just to identify those families that would come out, because you don't want people knowing their business, and they're very open, talked about their incidents of violence and drugs, so it's tough to get them to really give us the honest feedback, because they don't want anybody necessarily to know their business, but we are trying to get there.
Right.
Kathleen?
No, I'm good. Thank you, Judge Sullivan, and keep up the good fight.
Yeah, Judge, how can we get one of those shirts?
One of these? I think it cost me $22.50, and next time they come around, I'll give it to you for $25.50. You got to help the governor make up some of that.
He's a judge and an entrepreneur.
Well, Judge, thank you for coming on the show. Appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Respect everything. It's always good to see you again.
You too. Take
Do
care.
you have any information you want to give out, a contact number or anything?
I'll tell you, if you got any questions, if you want interest in being a foster parent, if you want to be an adoptive parent, or if you want to be a CASA, court-appointed special advocate, you can just contact me. I'm in the phone book for the courthouse. Contact my chambers at 455-1334, and I'll have my staff direct you to the person of contact so you don't get it run around. And you're always welcome to come down. I can't discuss particular cases, but if you want to come down and see the process, we are really trying to be transparent with the Department of Family Services, for the juvenile court to be transparent so people see what's going on, so they get actively engaged and have better outcomes for our children.
That's great.
Thank you, Judge. That's Judge Frank Sullivan, the 8th Judicial Court Judge for the Family Division. This is Steve Sanson, Karen Steelmon, and Kathleen Vermillion, Veterans of Politics. Don't go away, folks. We're going to have Michael D. Davidson, candidate for Clark County District Court Judge, Department 14. Did you see the press release Veterans in Politics sent out in support of Clark County District Court Judge Alicia Kadish to the federal bench?
Yes, in 2008, Veterans in Politics endorsed 22 judicial candidates in the primary. Only 4 candidates did not become a judge. This was the same year they endorsed District Court Judge Elisha Kadish. Judge Kadish was one of the 18 of their endorsed recipients that is a sitting judge today.
Yeah, they take pride in their selection of candidates, especially when it comes to our judges. Judges are the first line of defense, and they immediately impact our daily lives.
I wonder if anybody knows that Judge Kadish was appointed to the district court seat by former Republican Governor Jim Gibbons to replace former district court judge Joe Bonaventure.
Yeah, as a jurist, Judge Kadish consistently demonstrates fairness, impartiality, and a dedication to upholding the law, regardless of whether she agrees with it. She follows the law and not legislates from the bench, which is what Republicans look for in a jurist.
Yeah, it is ironic, to say the least, that Republican U.S. Senator Dean Heller is now blocking Judge Kadish's federal judicial nomination because she insisted on following the law.
What he is using is a questionnaire Judge Kadish filled out in May 2008 from the group Citizens of Responsible Government. They asked Judge Kadish a question concerning the Second Amendment. The question they ask is, do you believe the individual citizen has a constitutional right to keep and bear arms?
I remember that. Kadish responded, I do not believe that there is this constitutional right, but I believe that reasonable restrictions may be imposed on gun ownership in the interest of public safety. Of course, I will enforce the laws as they exist as a judge.
That was a correct statement of law at the time. Individual citizens did not have a constitutional right to keep and bear arms. Reasonable restrictions could be imposed on gun ownership in the interest of public safety. Therefore, Judge Kadish's response demonstrated that she was well-versed and knowledgeable in this important area of the law. Moreover, she indicated she would enforce the law as they exist. In other words, Judge Kadish not only understood the law, but affirmed she would apply it regardless of her personal opinion.
Yeah, later the law changed. In District of Columbia versus Heller and McDonald versus City of Chicago, the United States Supreme Court held that the Second Amendment protects an individual right to possess firearms, and that this right is fundamental and fully applicable to the states through incorporation in the 14th Amendment.
I remember that. After the Heller and McDonald decisions, Judge Kadish again confirmed that she would be bound by the law, not a personal opinion, and as such, if asked the same question today, she would respond, I believe that there is a constitutional right for individuals to keep and bear arms, and I would make clear that I would faithfully apply the binding precedent on the issue starting with the Heller and McDonald decisions, if faced with an issue regarding these important Second Amendment rights.
It sounds like, in both responses, Judge Kadish confirmed her commitment to upholding the law.
Yeah, now, in a sadly transparent attempt at political pandering that needlessly deepens the partisan divides that already paralyzes our federal government, U.S. Senator Heller has blocked Judge Kadish's congressional confirmation. And ironically, he is now forced to justify his position by arguing that when asked about the individual right to bear arms, Judge Kadish should have assumed activist robes and held that contrary to law. Such a right did, in fact, exist. In other words, Senator Heller must attempt to argue with a straight face that Judge Kadish is not qualified to be a federal judge because she understands the law and will uphold it.
Unfortunately, U.S. Senator Heller is not just sacrificing his own credibility among voters and true conservatives, but is selfishly denying his own constituents the benefits of a qualified, accomplished, universally respected federal judge. And that's what truly is disappointing.
Well, Veterans in Politics members believe in the Constitution and the right to bear arms. A majority of their membership has concealed carry weapons permits. I don't believe that they would endorse Judge Kadish in 2008 if they believed that she was against gun ownership.
Really? I don't understand how a freshman appointed U.S. Senator could stop a federal appointment from a majority whip, elected U.S. Senator, and the President of the United States.
Well, I know Judge Kadish should not be used as a political pawn to gain conservative votes on falsehoods. Judge Kadish appointment should be allowed to move forward.
Please contact U.S. Senator Dean Heller's office at 702-388-6501 and ask him to let the appointment of Judge Kadish move forward to the U.S. Senate Judiciary Committee.
Well, we're back. This is Ooh, that sounds a little loud.
That's just you.
This is Steve Sanson and Karen Steelmon, veterans of politics.
Steve ran Kathleen off.
Yeah, Kathleen left.
She don't like you anymore, I don't think.
No, I think it's Mike Davidson we have.
I think he might have scared her a little bit.
Yeah. Couldn't have been me.
No, not. Of course not.
We got Mike Davidson, candidate for Clark County District Court, Judge Department 14. Mike, how you doing?
I'm pretty good. How are you, Steve?
I'm doing good. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Been living here for...
That's enough. So, Karen.
Thank you very much.
I'll be here all week.
Order the veal, tip the waitress.
Go ahead, Mike.
Been here for 33, 34 years. Started out my first 20 years in private practice. Then when my partner Stu Bell asked me to join him, I went over to the district attorney's office as the assistant district attorney, where I ran the whole civil division and the family division for the DA's office.
Did you put your appointment in for DA?
I did not.
Okay.
I thought about it, but I did not. After I finished at the DA's office, was back in private for about a year when North Las Vegas called me when they still had a few bucks in the bank, asked me to come over and help build their city attorney's criminal division. So I did that for 5.5 years as the chief prosecutor. And for the last couple of years, I've been back in private practice doing all kinds of civil litigation, representing little people, big people, corporations.
All pays the same, right?
It does not. The big people tend to pay more often and better, but the little people need help too.
So out of all of that experience, which did you prefer the most? Did you enjoy the most?
I have to be honest and tell you that I got the most job satisfaction when I was helping the most number of people at one time, and that was when I was working in the district attorney's office, and the decisions that I made and the work that I did benefited a whole community, as opposed to when you're a private practice attorney, you help people one person at a time. Now, there is great satisfaction in representing individuals. I've done criminal prosecution and criminal defense, and on those occasions where I've represented somebody who truly was innocent, there is no greater feeling, there's no greater satisfaction than knowing that you prevented an injustice from being done and kept somebody from wrongfully spending time in prison or worse.
And what do you like least about your career?
I don't know that there's anything I like least about the career. I mean, at the moment I'm involved in private practice, it's not really where I want to be at the moment. I've been seeking appointment to the bench. I'm a candidate for the bench. I think that is where I can make the greatest contribution to the community. I think that's where, if I've learned anything in the last 33 years of practicing, I can, best put that kind of mature judgment to work. And so that's what we're focusing on now.
So you only have one opponent you're running against in 14, not like Department 4 when they got 9 running for that bench. So it's a 50-50 chance that you're going to be the next judge in Department 14. Is that a right statement?
I don't know if it's a 50-50 chance. It's true that I'm in against one other person. I ran about a year and a half ago, you may recall, and out of 350,000 votes that were cast, I was fortunate to receive 49.9% of that vote.
Wow.
There's about 185,000 votes. I lost by under 500 votes. So that's as close to 50-50 as you can get, but whether you can project that number forward to this election, I'm not smart enough to say.
So Mike, why you want to wear that robe for? Isn't that a lot of problems, especially being a district court judge? Isn't that so many issues that come with that robe and long hours?
Yeah, a lot of people think it's, just sitting up there and listening to people yak and collecting a paycheck.
It's becoming a much more difficult job as the years go by.
Especially, it's Judge Mosley's seat, right?
It is the seat that Judge Mosley, left when he retired. But the laws become more complex. The issues are more complex. Our society is more complex. That's one of the reasons that I think it's important to have people who have the ability to make those decisions on a daily basis. I graduated from a top-tier law school. At the top of my class, I was the executive editor of Law Review. I think it's important for judges to have the candle power to be able to understand the issues. And nothing frustrates lawyers more than going into court, arguing a case in front of the judge, walking out, and being unable to explain to your client what the ruling was because you can't figure out what the judge was doing. I don't expect to win every time I go to court, but I do expect to walk out feeling that I got a fair shake, that my client got a fair shake, regardless of whether he has money or doesn't have money. I expect that the judge will be prepared, will be smart enough to have understood the issues, and will be courteous in court. And that's the kind of judge.
And actually pay attention. I think that's the most frustrating thing for people in the court or in sitting in front of a judge is that judges don't pay attention.
It's a tough job, and people, I have had, this is one of the things that distinguishes me from many other people running also. I have been a judge before. I've been a pro tem judge. I work closely with, Judge Sullivan, who you just had on. I was one of the original small claims hearing masters. I was one of the original juvenile court hearing masters, alternate masters. And so I've seen this from all perspectives, and it's difficult when you've got, hundreds and hundreds of cases on your caseload. You've got a busy calendar. You have to prepare, and then you have to do a brain dump and move on to the next case so that every case gets the attention that it deserves, because to the people standing in front of you, that case is the most important thing in their life at that moment. Mm-hmm. And you have to understand that as a judge.
Okay, did you ever make a decision that you regret? That just
why are you asking him foo-foo questions for?
So to let you build up to the good questions.
Oh, we still got Robert Kelly over there.
Okay.
I want to know.
Shut up and let him answer.
You asking him all these foo-foo questions. Did you ever had a case that you regret?
Now, ladies and gentlemen, as the proposed judge in the room, I'm going to ask you to behave yourselves and treat each other with the respect that you each deserve. And
I want to get into the meat of potatoes.
Go for it.
How do you feel about OIS involving police officers and unarmed civilians?
OIS.
Officer-involved shootings.
Okay. For 5 years, I did the coroner's inquests for Clark County.
Yeah. So, all right. So why is everybody justifiable?
97% of the time. Really?
Especially Bryant Yent, who lied about everything. He's still justifiable.
Hard for me to give you an answer as to a particular case, but let me tell you this. Because I have been involved in this intimately for 5 years as the assistant district attorney, I put on all of the coroner's inquests that were put on. Remember that the coroner's inquests were put on in front of a jury of your peers. So they are the ones who decided that it was justifiable. Does that mean that the system was perfect and that there weren't some tweaks that needed to be made? No. I will tell you that I honestly always felt a little uncomfortable as a district attorney putting those cases on, because I thought that the public perception would be that the district attorney is in bed with the cops, and so all of the testimony will be slanted in favor of the cops.
Could I interject a little bit? The last coroner's inquest, the jury of her peers, it was, if my memory serves me correctly, it was the district attorney, it was the public defender, it was somebody from the NAACP. It's not necessarily a jury
of our peers, it's jury of the police officers' peers.
Somebody from the NAACP, somebody from the ACLU, and
well, and the case isn't heard by a judge either.
An ombudsman, they just brought an ombudsman in, which was
omnibudsman.
Ombudsman, yeah, that former judge Wall.
The ombudsman, under the revamped procedure that the county commission has put in place, is there to represent the interest or the family of the citizen who got shot. And that was a significant change, because the way coroner's inquests had always been done, the jury could always ask questions, submit them to the hearing officer, who was not a judge. It was a lawyer who was appointed to sit as the hearing officer. And the family and people in the audience were also allowed to submit questions, and those questions were reviewed by the hearing master to determine whether they were appropriate questions. And so there always was that mechanism. The problem was that the perception of the public and the perception of the families of people who were shot was that the district attorney was not going hard enough at the police witnesses. Now, of course, the police are objecting to the new process. They challenged it in federal court, lost there. It's now pending at the Supreme Court of the state here. because they do not want to have an adversarial process.
Yeah, because you can't cross-examine the cops.
Right. But what it goes back to is, what is the purpose of the coroner's inquest? Is it to determine whether the cop violated the law or not? That's not what the coroner's inquest is about. The coroner's inquest...
All right, so let me stop you right there. If that's not what the coroner's inquest is about...
Isn't it about
then why did Sheriff Doug Gillespie says that he wasn't going to file charges against Detective Bryant yet because he was found justifiable in the coroner's inquest, although he lied on everything, on the police report, he lied on his testimony. His testimony was contradictory to his own police officers, and
the application for the warrant,
and to the medical examiner's report. So he basically said that he was justifiable in the coroner's inquest, so that he washed his hands of it. So if it's not anything dealing with, the to either find a cop innocent or guilty, then basically the sheriff is taking that as an innocence.
You'd have to ask.
He sat right there.
You'd have to ask the sheriff, about that. I can tell you that as a matter of law, he is not bound by the coroner's inquest jury's decision in a case in making the decision whether or not he thinks that one of his officers violated the law. And if he does think that the officer violated the law, then he should refer that case to the district attorney's office for prosecution. The district attorney then independently reviews the case and determines whether a crime has been committed and what crime that is, and whether the district attorney feels that he can prove the case. It's a many-step process, but the coroner's inquest process is not a preliminary hearing in a criminal case. It's never been intended to do that, and I think that's where we went off the tracks many years ago, and it's one of the problems here. If we think of the coroner's inquest as a process that allows people to feel comfortable with the fact that police officers are not running around shooting people who don't deserve to get shot, then
what about kicked? People that don't deserve to be kicked in the head 5 times, but yet the district attorney says the reason why he didn't do it because he had that training. So I said I had training to kill.
Yeah.
So if I go and kill me somebody, I could just say, hey, that's how I was trained, right? And I'll just get a pat on my back and I'll be on my way. Correct?
Probably not.
See, that's why I said it only works one way.
And that's the issue I think I have with the whole system is that it's always approached by the officials within the system as to whether or not a case can be proved or not. And that shouldn't be the approach. The approach should be whether or not there was injustice done.
You're talking about a criminal prosecution or the coroner's inquest process?
Both.
Well, again, 2 different things. I can tell you as a prosecutor, no prosecutor should file a case unless that prosecutor believes that a crime has been committed and that this person committed it, and no cop should be arresting somebody without probable cause. And the probable cause determination is that a crime was committed and this person committed it. If prosecutors are not following that rule and cops aren't following that rule, then they are violating the constitutional rights of citizens.
That's exactly right. But they oftentimes see that a crime has been committed, but they don't think that it can be proved in court. Wolfson sat right there and said exactly that.
And I think it's up to the grand jury to determine that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think the DA should wash his hands from it and give it to the grand jury. That's what I would have done.
Yep.
And I don't even have a law degree.
We don't use the grand jury here as much as it's used in a lot of places.
We should. I think we should, especially dealing with police shootings or police excessive force.
Now, can the district attorney determine on his own whether or not a crime has been committed, or does he need a reference from the sheriff to determine whether a crime was committed in an officer-involved instance?
Yeah, the district attorney does not require a reference from a law enforcement authority, although in 99% of the cases that's what happens. The reason for that is that the district attorney's office doesn't have the resources to investigate crimes the way police do. But the district attorney has the power to make a determination that a crime was committed and initiate a prosecution even without the police having been first involved.
Okay. Well, that's it for Mike Davidson. Mike, did you RSVP for the endorsement interview on the July 14th?
When you throw a party, I come.
Very good. That way you could continue with that line of questioning at that particular time. This is Steve Sanson, Karen Steelmon, Veterans in Politics. Don't wait for Mike. Thank you so much. That was Michael D. Davidson, candidate for Clark County District Court Judge Department 14. And we'll be right back momentarily with Robert A. Kelly, candidate for Clark County District Court Department 4.
The honorific Smash debut album, Yay, is gonna make you wanna sing.
Just gotta sing to make the whole world ring. Just gotta sing to take your mind off the hood.
With hits like Just Gotta Sing,
Just gotta sing.
Only in My Dream,
It was only my dream.
Suspicion,
Suspicion torments my mind. Suspicion keeps us apart.
It Must Have Been Love.
It must have been love, but it's over now. It's all that I wanted, now I'm living without. Must have been love, but it's over.
Yay is available for a special low price at Amazon, Rhapsody, Reverb Nation, iTunes, and at thehonorifics.com. Thehonorifics.com. Yay!
Hello, Las Vegas. I'm Karen Steelmon, president of Las Vegas Tea Party, bringing your voice to the air Wednesdays at 7 p.m. Are you tired of politics as usual? Do you want to be more involved? Do you want to put a stop to out-of-control government policies? On We the People, we will discuss the political topics of the day and find real solutions. No parties, no labels, just Americans. Be here Wednesdays at 7 p.m. with We the People on KLAV 1230 a.m., where your voice is heard.
Well, we're back. This is Steve Sanson and Karen Steelmon, Veterans of Politics. Hey, we forgot to ask Mike Davidson for his website and all
We
that.
did. I know. You cut him off and threw him out.
Oh, well. That's because we have Robert Kelly, who's a candidate for Clark County District Court Judge Department 4, and he wants to get some airtime. How you doing, Robert?
I'm good, Steve. How are you today?
Good. Could you give us a bio about yourself?
Sure. My family moved to Las Vegas when I was about 10 years old. I went through the public education system. After I graduated from Western High School, I started at UNLV. My undergraduate education was interrupted for 3 years while I served some time in the Army. When I got out, I finished up at UNLV. And at that time, Nevada was one of 2 states that didn't have a law school. So
you're a veteran?
I am.
Oh, thank you for your service.
Well, thank you for noticing.
I second that.
I had to go out of state again for law school, but that's really the only 2 times that I've ever absented myself from the state of Nevada for any lengthy period of time. When I came back, I started a law practice. I worked for a firm for a couple of years and went out on my own, and pretty much I was a sole practitioner for 25 years. During that time, I just mentioned to you that we first got together when I became a small claims referee, and that was probably...
That was in 98, wasn't it?
I was thinking 12, 15 years ago, so somewhere in that ballpark.
I've known you a long time. You never once invited me over for Thanksgiving, though. Just want to put that on the record.
Well, and let's point out that you've never invited me either. So
Woo! Sounds to me like we got some pool parties to have this summer.
After serving as a small claims referee, I went ahead and signed up as a pro tem judge in Justice Court. And I found that very interesting. I started doing a lot of traffic cases.
And you slammed me with that one ticket. Yeah.
Well, I'm sure you deserved it.
No doubt.
It was probably a reckless.
Lucky you kept your license. Hush up.
District Court started a pro tem program that was a short trial program. I signed up for that. I conducted a number of jury trials at District Court. And about 5 years ago, I became the full-time Clark County Traffic Court Judge. That's the position I currently hold. I guess you can tell from that brief bio that I've got a real interest in sitting on the judge side of the bench. I've always enjoyed it. I think I'm fairly good at it. And in traffic court, we see tons of people every day. And so far, at least,
they all have excuses, right?
Well, I'm sure most of them are legitimate.
I can tell you every time I've ever gotten pulled over, I wasn't wrong.
Well, remember her face.
You can always think of it as the times that you got away with it.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So,
can I ask a question now, or do we not have enough time?
It's better not be a foo-foo question.
As long as it's not frou-frou.
Yeah.
Well, most people think that judges want to become judges because of the money and the power that brings. And you've already said that you like sitting on the judge side of the bench. So what brings you to that side of the bench?
Well, like I said, I like it. I think.
For what reason exactly?
Well, I think I make some difference. I have a fairly good economic or educational background. I graduated with honors from both UNLV and from my law school, and it was a top-tier law school.
Ignore the guy in the corner with the sign.
All right. I think being a judge in the courtroom, if the judge does his job right, he's pretty much not noticed, especially during a jury trial. He's like a referee. Make sure the jury gets the proper evidence. Make sure that the proper law is given to the jury. Make sure the attorneys are kept in line so they don't do a lot of grandstanding in front of the jury. But again, if the judge does his job, then the jury is going to get the case and make a legitimate decision on the case. And I think that's a very important function. Most people don't have a lot of experience coming to court.
And I think that's the best answer I've gotten on that question.
So you're running for former Judge Hardcastle's
correct
seat. There's 9 of you in that race that's going to go all the way up to November 2nd. A lot of good candidates. How do you stand out above your 8 opponents? What makes you unique?
I'm probably older than all of them.
That's not the answer.
I don't think that's.
I think it's the experience I have. I've been practicing law for 31 years. 5.5 years as a full-time judge. I think there's only one other candidate for Department 4 that has judicial experience, at least on a full-time basis. And I have finished my commitment with Justice Court for my 5-year commitment as the traffic court judge before I applied for this job.
So you're saying you have experience and wisdom above your opponents?
I believe I do.
Okay.
At least I hope I do.
How do you feel about Veterans Court?
I know very little about it.
I'll
be very
statute. You might want to check that out.
I'll be very frank with you.
NRS 176A. Did you apply for the July 14th endorsement interview?
I have not.
Oh, you
what
might,
the?
I will.
Can't walk
I will.
In here.
I'm going to before I leave today.
You might want to RSVP and know a little bit about Veterans Court before you.
No, I'm sorry. I've heard.
Yeah, we have one guy on the panel that's going to nail you on that if you don't.
Well, it's my understanding the Veterans Court is not in place.
In district court, no, it's not.
Right. Well, it's statutorily authorized, but it's not there. So I just haven't really spent a lot of time studying up on something.
And I think that's my probably biggest issue with all judges is that you're at like the apex of the law in Nevada, and other than sitting on the bench, what do you do to make things better for our citizenry?
Well, the problem with
what if you don't win?
If I don't win?
Yeah.
Well,
what are you going to do?
I'm going to be a traffic court judge. That's the same thing I've done for the last 5 years.
That's not making things better for our community.
Does that pay a lot, traffic court judge?
No.
Okay. Sorry.
No, I'm not trying to be a judge for the pay. I made a lot more money as an attorney than I'm ever going to make as a judge. That's just a given. But I think I can make a difference as a judge. And as a judge, especially a district court judge, you're so damn busy. I don't know how you can go out and you can advocate for a lot of things. You just don't simply have the time. If you're spending 8 or 10 hours a day in court in trial, you're probably spending another 4 or 5 or 6 hours a day getting ready for the trial, reading briefs, studying the law, trying to figure out where you're trying to go with this trial. And that doesn't leave a lot of free time, especially if you have a family. And I do have a family. I've got a big extended family in this town.
Do you have any criminal experience?
You mean as a criminal?
That's what I was thinking.
As an attorney.
Answer that one first.
during my practice, I had a few cases. I represented criminals, but very few.
Okay.
My primary practice is civil.
You ever been a criminal?
Well, why does that guy keep throwing?
I don't know.
Because he's going to turn your radio off.
So in Department 4, would that be more of a civil than criminal?
Well, I certainly hope so. I think it's typically a mixture of both. Are we done?
No, keep going. We got about 20 seconds.
All right. Obviously, my background is in civil. I can certainly do a civil case. I can certainly do a criminal case.
Okay.
My preference is civil because that's what I did for 25 years, and obviously I got a bent towards the civil law.
Okay.
But, I mean, the law is the law.
Right.
I can read a law. I can bone up on it, and I can certainly conduct
That's an interesting
Bona?
phrase.
bone up on it.
Yeah.
I think we're done.
Well, I called somebody. Told somebody I was going to put him in the who's gal the other day. I guess that really dates myself. Do you even know what that is, Steve?
Respect that.
No.
That's a jail.
Liar.
Yeah, I figured that much. Robert, could you give us your website or your
Sure. It's rakesq@aol.com.
Okay. That's your email.
That's my email.
You have a website?
I don't.
You better bone up on it, Robert.
I got a guy working on it. At least that's what he tells me.
Okay.
Sorry.
That was Robert. Thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thank you for having me.
It's great talking to you.
It's been interesting.
That was Robert Kelly, candidate for Clark County District Court Department 4. This is Steve Sampson, Karen Steelmon, Veterans of Politics. Until next week.
From the lakes of Minnesota to the hills of Tennessee, across the plains of Texas, from sea to shining sea.
Views and opinions expressed on this program were those of the hosts and guests and did not necessarily reflect those of Vegas All Net Radio, its affiliates, or its parent company.